When it comes to mountain driving, especially in extreme weather conditions, driving a commercial motor vehicle in steep grades or sharp curves can be unrevering or unsure or nervous, especially if an unexperienced driver is operating a commercial motor vehicle. So you can best safely navigate both through steep curves and sharp curves with the knowledge and the right approach to have it in. So with air brakes use compressed air to activate the brakes for the brakes to work. So when you're in grades, gravity plays a major, huge role on both upgrades and downgrades because it's important that your brakes are in the top best condition as possible. And the two types of grades, the common types of grades are upgrades and then downgrades. If you think about it, upgrades is going up a steep hill, going up, and then downgrades is going down a steep hill, a downward hill. Specifically for upgrades, gravity slows down vehicles on upgrades, and that makes it difficult or a challenge to even maintain the same speed that you had before. So the steepness of the grade, the length, and the vehicle weight affects how you drive on an upgrade. And it all plays a role when you're driving on an upgrade. So you want to use lower gears for steeper and longer grades because your vehicle could overheat and stall if you select or get in the gear that's too high for that condition. Then when driving on upgrades, you want to monitor, check your vehicle, and drive appropriately for the conditions. So you want to use your gauges by monitor your gauges as you're heading uphill, because it can cause all of the vehicle's parts or components to work harder when you're traveling on that roadway. And then check your engine heat. So additional work could cause the engine to heat. So that's why you want to pull over in a safe area to allow the engine to cool down if this happens. Because if the vehicle's gauges show high temperatures, then that means a decrease in engine oil pressure, or if water and exhaust gases are reading abnormal. So it means that it will be a decrease in oil pressure, or if the water and exhaust gas temperatures are reading abnormal. Then you want to keep right by traveling in the right lane. When you're traveling uphill on a multi-lane road, which is a hill that will allow smaller, faster vehicles to pass safely. Then you want to turn your four-way flashers, emergency hazard lights when this happens. Then you want to watch for traffic. You want to continue to pay careful attention, close attention to traffic that is surrounding you and your vehicle, especially to the left and the rear of your vehicle. Then you have downgrade. Downgrades, the gravity makes vehicle speed up and down, and it actually forces the vehicle speed to go a downward slope road. So in other words, it makes your vehicle go faster since you're going down a steep hill. You want to pick and select a safe speed and select the lower gear to use the proper braking technique. Now, a safe speed is slow enough to allow the vehicle's brakes to hold without the brakes overheating or fading. Now, if you have to continually or constantly increase the pressure applied to the brakes to get that same power, then that means the brake will eventually fade until there's little to no stopping control. In other words, if you have to apply the brakes more just to stop the vehicle at the same rate, then that means it's a sign that the brakes are fading and you will have little to no control in stopping the vehicle. So when you're selecting the right speed for that downgrade, just remember and keep in mind that the total weight of the vehicle and its cargo or passengers, if you're transporting people, the grade steepness and length, and the weather and road conditions. Also, in downgrades, you want to stay to the right, allowing other vehicles to pass. You want to activate by turning on your four-way flashers or emergency hazard lights if you're moving slower than the flow of traffic. You want to be aware of any warning signs that will indicate or show the maximum vehicle size or the safe rate or speed for handling that grade. Then you want to use the braking effect of the engine control vehicle speed, because the engine braking effect is greatest when it's near the governed revolutions per minute, when it's near the RPMs, and the transmission is in the lower gears. Then you want to downshift to appropriate safe gear before starting down a grade. So it'll be challenging, if not impossible, to downshift once a vehicle speed has been built up. And that's if you're driving a manual stick shift. But either way, you want to go into a lower gear before going into a downgrade. Then how brakes can fail. This is part of downgrades. So at any time a brake is used, heat is created, and therefore excessive heat or too much heat can cause excessive braking, and that will lead to brake failure, or it will cause the brakes to not work because the rubbing of the brake pads against the brake drum or disc is actually what creates the heat itself. So all brakes must be adjusted, operating properly in order to safely and efficiently control your vehicle. And then on downgrades, you want to avoid downshifting while you're traveling in a downgrade, because that can cause the vehicle to get stuck in neutral, and it will leave you coasting with all the braking effect lost. So it'll leave you in neutral and allow the vehicle to coast. So meaning you won't have full control of the vehicle. Then you want to avoid forcing the automatic transmission into a lower gear for those same reasons, because you do not want to shift or go into a lower gear when you are driving on a downgrades. That is the main thing for downgrades. Now, when you're going from downgrades or stopping in general in adverse weather conditions, the proper braking technique should be and needs to be used when you're traveling in the right low gear, in the right amount of low gear. There are 4 basic steps. You want to slow by identify a safe speed for the load and grade of the load. And in most cases, the speed will be less than the posted speed limit, because posted speed limit are mostly meant for cars, generally speaking. 2, you want to brake. When that speed is reached, apply the brakes hard enough to feel a definite slowdown. Step 3, release. Release the brakes once the vehicle speed has been reduced by 5 miles per hour below that safe speed limit. And this should be about 3 seconds. And then step 4, repeat. You want to repeat the previous 2 steps, which is steps 2 and 3, about braking and then releasing, when the vehicle speed increases back to or above that safe speed. So those are the 4 main steps of the braking technique. And then as an example about the braking technique, if the vehicle safe speed is about 30 miles an hour, then you do not want to apply the brakes until the vehicle speed has reached about 30 miles per hour. Then you want to brake just hard enough to gradually reduce the vehicle speed to 25 miles per hour, and then release the brakes when you reach 25 miles per hour. Now, when it comes to escape ramps, so these escape ramps are your lifesaver. They are your tools. They are there to help and make sure that in case if you're not in control of your vehicle, it will help you stop the vehicle safely without damaging or harming yourself or others. It's mainly found on steep mountain downgrades, and it's designed to help you stop a runaway vehicle safely. Common types of ramps are gravity ramps, sand piles, Arista beds, and Arista bed combinations, which is a combination of these. So gravity ramps is found on steep ascending grades as you're ascending an upgrade, and they are constructed of a pea gravel surface with mounts of sand and gravel at the end of the ramp. Where you have sand piles, that contains mounts of rigids tall enough to drag the undercarriage of the vehicle. Then you have Arista beds. So large Arista beds are large masses of loose material, at least 18 inches deep, causing a vehicle to sink. And then you have ramp and Arista bed combinations. So it relies on both loose surfaces material and long grades on a slow vehicle. All of these are types of ramps needed depending on the type of road area and conditions that you're in. So always be prepared for the worst and know where your escape ramps are and how you'll use it ahead of time. This is part of preparation, preparing, knowing ahead of time as much as possible. Now, if your vehicle has an equipment failure or brake failure, know ahead of time if your vehicle has an equipment failure or brake failure. Now, these ramps can help save lives when the vehicle brakes fail or if it just stops working. It can happen. So you want to use escape ramps when needed, because if your vehicle brakes fail while you're on the road, it can be catastrophically dangerous. So you want to use the nearest escape ramp. That's why it's there. So for sharp curves, it can be very challenging, especially when you're driving in extreme drive conditions. So the science of curves, being mindful about the curves itself. So the centrifugal force is the outward and sideways pushing force against a vehicle on a curve, the actual motion of feeling as you're turning that curve. So a vehicle will roll over when that force is too great to counteract or to fight against. Now, driving too fast on a curve can also cause a vehicle to tip or actually roll over. So you want to use the safe driving practices that will help you to push through these sharp curves. So the posted speed limits, they're for cars, generally for cars, not larger vehicles. There are some exceptions, but generally speaking, the posted speed limits are for cars, not for vehicles or larger vehicles or commercial motor vehicles for that matter. So you want to reduce your speed by at least 5 to 10 miles below that posted speed limit, and you're really reducing your speed in snow, ice, rain, wind, or other extreme conditions. So you want to reduce that speed even more when you're in other extreme weather conditions or challenging conditions. Then you want to reach your target, which is your safe speed, before you even get to the curve. You never want to use cruise control, and always keep your eyes on the road. Hey, BET Trainer here. Listen, if you really had true value out of this video, go ahead and click that like button and share some honest comments about this video, because this is going to help other people as well see the video and get the value information, so that way they can be inspired by what you're doing right now as well. So also, if you want to get the latest updates, go ahead and click the subscribe button, so then you can be able to always be updated on the next instant video that will be put out. So again, go ahead and do that. And this video was sponsored by BET Life Services and CDL for Life.